In this video, we're going to take at the learning target, I can solve quadratic equations using the quadratic. So what you need to know. In these examples, we're working with the standard form of a quadratic equation, and it's written as such. A times x squared plus b times x plus c equals 0. And a, b, and c are all real numbers, and a cannot equal 0. My quadratic formula we have listed here, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a. This formula is on your EOC formula sheet, so you do not need to have it memorized. It will come in handy. You want to use the a, b, and c from the standard form of the equation to plug into the formula. In this first example, we want to solve the equation, and we're going to use the quadratic formula. So 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. First thing we need to do is identify our a, b, and c. Okay, a is the coefficient in front of the x squared term, so in this case, that number value here is 2. The number out front of my x term, or that middle term, is negative 3, and then my constant term here is that negative 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my formula and plug in my pieces. So if I kind of color code this, here's my b values right here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in my value of b. So in the first spot, I'm going to plug in that negative 3 or substitute that in. Same with right here. And then next I'm going to move on to my a's. My a was 2. So I'm going to substitute those values in, and then lastly my c is negative 5. Now from here I want to simplify. So I see here I've got two negatives, that's going to make a positive 3 plus or minus the square root of, and then negative 3 squared is 9, and then I have negative 4 times 2 times negative 5. That's going to give me a positive 40. And that's all over 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. So if I simplify again, down here, I'm going to have 3 plus or minus the square root of 49 all over 4. Well, 49 is a perfect square, so I can simplify this even one more time. 3 plus or minus 7 all over 4, because the square root of 49 is 7. And now I can break this up into two separate problems. I have 3 plus 7 over 4, and I have 3 minus 7 over 4. 3 plus 7 is 10. 10 over 4. You could simplify that further. That would be 5 over 2 if I simplify that. And then 3 minus 7 is negative 4 all over 4. And that gives me negative 1. So those are my two answers, negative 1 and 5 over 2, my two solutions for x. Now would be a great time for you to stop. Try this one on your own, come back and check in a minute. Again, we're using the quadratic equation, or the quadratic formula with our quadratic equation. I need to identify my a, my b, and my c parts. My a is 2, that's that number in front of x squared. My b is the coefficient with the x, and then c is my constant term, and in this case it's negative 20. Now I can go ahead and substitute those values in using my formula. So negative b, so I'm going to plug in that 3. Then in the square root part I have b squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 20, all over 2a, which is 2. So just like before, we're going to go ahead and simplify. I'm going to have negative 3 plus or minus 9, and then here I've got two negatives again. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 20 is positive 160, and that's going to all be over 4. So when I go to simplify this further, I'm going to have negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 169 all over 4. Well, the square root of 169 is actually a perfect square, and it is 13. So I can go ahead and simplify. I'm going to have, two problems like we did before. one where we do the addition and one where we do the subtraction. So negative 3 plus 13, again, that's going to give me 10. I'm going to have 10 over 4, which is the same as 5 over 2. And then negative 3 minus 13 is negative 16 over 4. And that is going to leave me with negative 4. So my two answers, x equals negative 4 and 5 over 2. If you need more on this topic, you can go ahead and check out the Learning Target spreadsheet for additional resources, videos, and practice.